my surgery today, so I might be down out for a few days. So I was like, try to get this in before then. This is my only time in the day to do it. So.
Yeah. Okay, sound check.
Check, check, check.
Okay, you're rolling and good to go.
Okay, cool. What's up, gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Real Men, Real Conversations. And today on the episode, I wanted to talk about some of the habits and rituals that we have in our lives and how those play a part in overall what we end up doing with our lives. It's probably the most important thing if you're trying to change your behavior is to create better habits and rituals. We don't usually rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our habits and rituals. And if you haven't read James Clear's book, oh my gosh.
I'll add it out. Atomic Habits?
Yeah, thanks. If you haven't read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, yet, it's a must-read. It's one of the best self-development books I've ever read, probably the best one of the last 5 years that I've read, and really just goes through and talks a lot about what we do on a daily basis. And the mistake that a lot of men make is thinking, a lot of people make, is thinking that they're going to have some big moment in life that's going to change everything, right? They think that, you know, maybe this magic success fairy is going to come and touch them, and they get this to this place in life, you know. And people always say that they want to be at a certain place, and they think it just happens. There's just like a moment where these people fall upon this lucky thing, and next thing they know, they're there. They've arrived. They've made it. But the truth is I've been able to study all these different successful people. They all have the same trait in common. And the one thing that every successful person that I've ever come across has in common is that they take action. They take action. It's the one thing I can say that all of them do the same. And really a beautiful life is just 10 years of stacking up win after win after win, of doing those little things every single day, and creates self-confidence. And that's why it's so important to do those little things every day, because every time you hold yourself accountable to these little habits and rituals that we create, and I'm going to go through my top 15 things that you do. Every time you do that, you give yourself proof and evidence that you do what you say you're going to do. And this builds self-confidence. This builds self-reliance. This allows you to know that you don't need to rely upon anybody else. This is how you become the hero of your own story. And I start talking a lot with new members of my coaching program, We Are the They, when they join, about how to change your mindset, how to change your physical appearance, how to just get in a better spot overall in your life. And there's really 8 areas of life. I covered this on one of the calls yesterday, and I'm going to go through this quickly. But these are the 8 areas of life. And what I talked about with them yesterday on the call was every single week for 30 minutes, you should be taking inventory of how your week went. And you got to ask yourself better questions. So for example, ask yourself questions like, what did I do well this week? What did I not do well this week? Right? And then once a month, you want to have a little planning session where you go through and you review the last month. It's a really good time to review budgets. It's a good time to review your goals you had for the month, your intention you had for the month, but then also to set it for the month that is to come. And one of the questions I ask my guys is, what is the one thing that would have to happen this month for you to consider it a very successful month? What's the one thing that would have to happen for this to be a successful month? And now you know what to focus on. Now you know where to put your energy and your time. And then over time, as you keep doing this, you keep stacking wins week to week, you keep stacking wins month to month, it starts to create a really cool year. And at the end of the year, this is where I recommend people do a 2 to 3 day planning session. I like to go away to a beach. I go somewhere where I'm usually by myself. A lot of times I'll go to Cabo. It's a 2.5 hour flight. Love to leave Utah when it's cold here in the wintertime. A couple years ago, I went to Bermuda, which wasn't so cool because it was like 65 degrees the whole time. Couldn't even go to the beach. But the bottom line is you want to go somewhere where you can get away. Maybe go to a cabin in the mountains. And you want to review your entire year. Really look at all 8 elements of this that I'm about to share with you and ask yourself tough questions. Really rate yourself of where you're at. You can do this every month as well. I like to see where I'm off balance, where I'm a little bit out of sync. And one of the questions that I have my men ask, again, if you want a better life, ask yourself better questions. This is the question that I have them ask is, who in my life is getting less than the best for me? Who in my life is getting less than the best for me? Is it my boss? Is it my employees? Is it my family? Is it my close friends? Is it this coaching group that I'm a member of? Like, who is getting less than the best of you? And that's where you know you can put some focus. So before I dive into the habits and rituals that I've created over the last 10 years, the ones especially over the last 2 years, I've really dialed this in, and it's made all the difference for me. One of my favorite things about having this coaching group is the accountability to self. Like, it's not okay for me to show up just being good in these areas. And so I've had to really look at myself and go, where can I go from an 8 to a 9? Where can I go from a 6 to a 7? Where can I go from a 7 to a 10? And try to make these changes in my life. And by the way, this isn't a linear thing. It doesn't just, and you're good, and forever you're going to be up there. Like, it balances, right? You're going to have days you're feeling better, days you're feeling worse. You're going to have weeks when you crush every single one of your habits. You're going to have weeks where you don't hit any of them. Maybe you're on vacation, or maybe you're sick, or whatever it might be. But ultimately, you want to put these habits into place so that when those hard times come, when the challenges come, because they always will, that it's not in question whether or not you're going to do it, right? Like, the difference between successful and unsuccessful people is successful people have merely learned to do the things that unsuccessful people don't want to do. A recent homework assignment I gave my group is I said, I want you to write down, I want you to really focus on this and think to yourself, how do I show up on my bad days? Because people that are good, they can perform, once in a while. They do well once in a while. I was talking to Manti Te'o recently on my podcast, former linebacker for Notre Dame. He was a defensive player of the year, obviously has an amazing story. And he said, that's the difference between the goods and the greats. He said the good people that are good, he's like, they show up and they perform every now and then. Every now and then they're great. Every now and then they can win you a game. But the greats, they always show up. It's not a question. You don't wonder about that person. You don't have to guess if they're going to be on their A game or not. They're just great. They're great all the time. But they get great by what they do when nobody's watching. One of my favorite things to do as I was coming up in the real estate world is I used to love to read a lot. And people would ask, like, what do you love to read? And my favorite thing to read was stories of successful people and successful companies, because success leaves clues. And I would read about these people to see what they were doing. I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn what the world's greatest people were doing, right? Whether that was, Elon Musk or the founder of Zappos or the founder of eBay or whoever it was. I just wanted to read. Maybe it was Mariano Rivera, the pitcher for the Yankees. Success leaves clues. And all these people had amazing habits. They had coaches and mentors that held them accountable. They had support, and they had great habits every single day. They were consistent. They took action. And so those are the things that I want to emphasize on this. The 8 areas of your life you can look at. Number 1, I always say, is your physical appearance. That includes style and hygiene, just how you present yourself, right? Like your actual look of, are you in shape? Are you proud of what you see in the mirror? And you can ask yourself tough questions. One of the questions that I asked somebody recently, a friend, he said he was very disciplined, but he's actually pretty out of shape. He's a few pounds overweight. And I asked him straight up, I said, this is the body you would choose if you could choose any. He said, well, no. I said, well, then there you go. But, without body shaming or fat shaming or any of these things, there is just principles of however good of health you are in, you're going to have a better life. If you're in shape, you will have more passion to your life. You will have a longer life. You will have more time with your kids, more time to do things. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he's got a huge health goal right now to lose some weight. I said, what's your motivation? What's your driving factor? And he said, my parents are 80 years old, and they haven't been able to hike for 15 years. I love hiking. I don't want to have to stop hiking in 20, 25 years from now because I wasn't in shape at this time. So he's got this huge motivation. But for you, you've got to figure it out for yourself. But number 1 is your physical appearance. Number 2 is your mental game. And the way I say this one is, how do you talk to yourself? How do you talk to yourself every single day? What's that voice in your head saying? Is it proud of you? Do you know when a hard thing comes to you that you've got this? Are you thinking to yourself, I don't give a shit what comes at me because I already know that I'm the asset. I'm prepared for this. I am mentally, physically, emotionally ready for whatever gets thrown at me, and I know I can handle it. Because if not, then you've got work to do, right? Like, you need to work on your affirmations, on your goal setting. You need to put more positive things in your mind. Probably got to start reading more books. And you've got to start building that muscle, that mental game, so that nothing can penetrate your peace around the situation. Like, when the world is chaos around us, people that are dialed in internally, they're fine. They function normal. Like, the whole world can be in chaos, but if you're dialed in inside, you know you've got this. You know, I like to joke around that I thrive in chaos. And so I don't worry about what's going on. I don't spend all this time. I mean, yeah, I wish the world was doing different things, but I also don't have the influence to change much of it. So I use my influence where I can to change where I can, to infect good where I can. And I don't worry about the rest because I can't do anything about it. And it ultimately, if I have my house in order, I'm at peace, then it doesn't bother me anyways. The third section you can look at is your spirituality. What is your connection to God, right? Like, if you're a church-going person, how do you show up? Do the people that attend your same church, whether that's a ward or just a synagogue or whatever it might be, like, are they happy to see you? Do you make their lives better? You know, what's your connection to God? Are you praying at least? Maybe it's universe or source or whatever. For most people, it's just God. And what is your connection with God? How do you feel God feels about you? Do you feel loved by God? And that's a connection that you've always got to be working on. The other one that I say, the next one, is your habits and rituals. This is one of the most important things that you've got to make sure that you're checking on every single month. How good are my morning routines? How good are my nightly routines? I'm going to go through a lot of this stuff on this podcast today, the top 15 habits that everybody should have to be a productive person. But ultimately, it comes down to those two things really are the most important parts of this. How are your habits and routines? Your morning routine, your nightly routine, your workout routine. Those are the things that you've got to make sure that you're working on and that you have dialed in. The next one is your financial life. Like, and this is the question that you can ask yourself is, how stressed am I over money? On a daily, weekly, monthly basis, how much am I stressed about money? And that's a really good question to be able to ask yourself and go, you know what? I'm stressed all the time. Or, you know what? I don't really have to worry about it that much. And if you're stressed about it all the time, then there needs to be some massive action taken towards fixing that problem. What are you doing to fix your financial issue? We can't still be having the conversation about why it's bad to be broke. So if you lack skills and knowledge, you got to go get them, right? If you lack opportunity, you got to go create it. If you lack the network, you got to go get it. These are what we do in We Are the They. We create all of this so that wherever you're at, this is why I tell everybody that joins the program, I want to financially 3x a return of anything you pay to be a part of this. And we do that by helping you get better skills and knowledge, by helping you get a better network, by helping you get more opportunities. And when you get around more people that are successful, you're just going to be successful. If you have 5 broke friends, guess what? You're going to be the 6th one. If you have 5 wealthy friends, eventually you're going to be the 6th one. It's just the way that works, because of the way that your mind works, the way that you play the game of money, all of the above. The next thing that you need to be looking at in your life, each person, after that one, is your work life. Like, are you fulfilled at work? When Monday hits, are you miserable or are you excited to go to work? And that's just a question you got to ask yourself. Do I wake up excited to do my job? Do I feel like I make a difference? Am I building towards something? These are the questions you want to ask yourself. And if not, 40% of your day, of your life, is spent working. At least, right? For some people, it's higher than that. So if 40% of your day is spent working, you might want to make sure that you enjoy what you're doing. And if you don't have to be like in your dream job, right? I'd be a sports center broadcaster or be an astronaut or some shit if that was the case for me. But when I was building my real estate business, when I'm building We Are the They, there's a huge sense of fulfillment every single day that comes from it. Because I know I'm building something. I know I'm making a difference. I know I'm putting in an honest day's work. And those are the things that you want to be able to focus on so that when those hard days come, you just know it's part of the deal. It's not a bad day, it's just a hard day. There's a very big difference, right? A lot of times we focus too much on wanting to feel better. And I always remind people the goal is to feel more. It's okay to have a hard day. It's okay to have a rough day. What you don't want to do is be miserable and have day after day after day where you don't even want to be doing whatever it is that you're doing. What are the other 2 sections that I sent?
The other 2 sections?
Yeah, it was from the call yesterday.
Yeah, let me open that up.
I spaced them. I'm doing really good with this, but
yeah, you're on a roll.
Yeah, this thing's rocking right now, but I need to remember this last.
Okay, so physical health and overall appearance.
Yep.
Mindset.
Yep.
Finance.
Yep.
Career.
Yep.
Habits and rituals.
Yep.
Spiritual being.
Yep.
Romantic life and friendships.
That's the last 2. Okay. The next one is to ask yourself, how is your romantic and family life, right? How is your romantic life? Is your partner your safe person? Do you feel like you can 100% be yourself with them? Do you feel safe in their arms? Can you tell them anything and know that there won't be judgment because they love and they understand you? Or are you just fighting? Are you trying to make it work? Are you constantly at each other's throats? They say that only 30% of married couples are happy, and half of married couples get divorced. So if you start doing the math, that's less than 15% of couples that figured this out on a level that works pretty well. The odds are against you. Humans are complex. What are you doing with your romantic partner to try to make that a better life? For some people, they're lonely. For some people, they're lonely single. For some people, they're lonely in a relationship. I know for me personally, I've been working hard recently to get myself to do stuff a little bit different, right? I've been running the same game for 15 years on how I went about dating. Cast 10 or 15 lines in the water and start seeing what I find, right? And I've pulled that all back in. July was the first month I've gone in over 15 years where I didn't go on a single date. And I've made some decisions of what I'm looking to do, because that was one of the areas of my life when I did my last report to myself, when I did my last check-in, that I said, you know what, I want things to change. So I got to change the things I'm doing. I had all my friends just went to Lake Powell. I've been on that trip so many times. It is a blast. It's as fun as it looks. And I talked to my buddy 2 nights ago. I said, how was it? And he said a lot of the girls were bugged because they had 36 single girls and 6 single guys. This is the trip. You can see why this would be a good time. And I passed on it because I'm trying to do things different. And it's working. And it's really cool because I can feel the changes in myself, and I'm starting to learn a lot about myself. But in your own romantic relationship, what's working, what's not? Get real with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Is your marriage working? If it's not, where are you part of the problem so that you can be part of the solution? What part of this relationship that's not working are you responsible for? And it's such a valuable question. Why isn't your marriage working? Why isn't there safety in the relationship? If you can't be yourself with her, it's because you're probably out of integrity. There's probably an energetic block, and a good woman is going to recognize that. And if she feels that and knows that, then she's going to retreat and pull back, and she's not going to be your safe person. I can't tell you how many of the men of the program have gone home and talked to their wives and got into integrity, and it took that wall down. They started to finally feel loved. But again, relationships are not black and white. They're not just always going good. It's a roller coaster. But the key is to be able to communicate through that and find your own problems that you are responsible for so that you can fix them. And just be really honest with yourself. Is it a safe relationship? Are you really happy with the relationship you're in? If not, it doesn't mean you need a new relationship. It means you need to look at where you can make changes to get into a better relationship. And then the last thing that I like to take inventory of is I call it my friendships, right? Do you have a best friend? Do you have multiple best friends? Do you have several best friends? Do you have 0 best friends? It's a question worth asking. And ask yourself that question. What are you doing to be a great friend? If you don't have friends, the whole reason I started We Are the They, there was 2 things that I kept getting asked. And the main one was, where do I find a group of friends like you have? And this is real talk for a second. Most people don't even know how to be a good friend. I can't tell you how many of my close best friends have told me, dude, until we started hanging out, I didn't even know what a best friend looked like. I didn't get it. And it helped me realize, I need to teach this. It's a part of my book that's coming out in February. I have an entire chapter about friendships. There's really 3 different types of friendships, and I'll get into this a little bit more down the line. But there's friendships out of utility, right, where we just, you are friends because it helps each other. There's friendships that, by chance. And then there's friendships that are, your soul brothers. These are people that you're going to do life with no matter what. These are the ones that you're looking for all the time, that have a lot of depth to them, that you can be yourself. And these are your friends that if you were to say the wrong thing in a room with these people, you wouldn't be worried about it, because you know that they know you well enough that they're like, oh, Jimmy just missed on that. And they would talk to you and they would tell you. You wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, we have to find a new friend. Like, they'd be like, dude, what the hell did you just say? Like, no. Hold on, and they would help you. That's what friendships are. But ask yourself, do you have true friendship? And if you don't, give us a look at We Are the They. This is going to be a shameless plug, because every single guy in my program has best friends. Go back and listen to a podcast I did recently with Casey Henson. This is a guy that just sold part of his company. It was an 8-figure tech company. He's just an amazing human being, has a great relationship with his wife. And he told me, he said, dude, he goes, the crazy part is if I were to get married again right now, he's only been in the program for a year. He said, every single guy I would invite to my wedding would be guys from the group that I didn't know before I joined. That's how deep these friendships have gone that fast. It's pretty wild. And for all the things that I do, good or bad or whatever else, one thing I'm great at is creating friendship. And so there's a science, there's a formula to building depth to friendships. And so if that's not working, if you don't have that in your life, if you don't have best friends that you can just call and shoot the shit with, that you can rely upon for anything, that there's no fear around asking for something because you know they just want to give to you and help you in every way, then let us help you figure out how to create those friendships. That's what we do best. Honestly, above everything else, that my legacy with We Are the They will be the friendships that continue on forever once I'm gone or once this thing is no longer, you know, if I'm move on to something else. But that is the legacy that will always remain, is the friendships that have been born here in this group. So with those 8 things in mind, I want to give you my top 15 habits in order that I think everybody should do. These are habits that will change your life. These are habits that I've been working on. Some of them are newer for me. Some of them I've been doing for a long time. I'm not going to fake it. The ones I've been doing for a long time, I'll let you know how that's affected me. The ones that I've just been doing more recently, I'll talk to that as well. So in order, starting with number 15, here are the top 15 habits that you need in your life to make real change. This chair is squeaky as fuck. I need to move it. Switch this one. I've never heard it squeaking like that before, but... All right. You can't see the phone in my video, right?
Let's see.
I want to make sure I can, so if I need
You won't see it here in clips for sure, and definitely not there either.
We're good?
Yep.
Okay. Dude, I like this podcast so far. It's going to be a banger.
Yeah.
All right, we ready?
Yep, and we're at about 20 minutes.
Okay, perfect. All right, number 15, no alcohol or hard drugs. This is one that I've had the most fascinating relationship with alcohol over the last 10 years or so. I didn't take my first drink till I was 34, so I guess last 7 years. But and I wasn't ever going to drink alcohol. And then I kind of had this moment where I said, well, wait, I want to know, do I just feel that alcohol is no good because I was raised that way in my church? Or is that my honest belief around it? And so I decided I wanted to try it for myself. I'm a curious guy. And so I took my first drink. I actually had my first drink undercover in Mexico with an op with Operation Underground Railroad, kind of crazy. But I figured not a better time to have a beer for the first time than that. So we sent it. It actually helped protect our cover, undercover. But it was a conscious choice that I made. I was ready. I wanted to do that. And over the next 5 years, 6 years, I drank quite a bit. In fact, my first time I ever drank, I'll tell you a quick story. This is how scary alcohol can be. After I got back from that op, because we were undercover, I didn't know. I honestly, this is how naive I was, but I was like, if I drink this beer or this vodka Red Bull, am I going to like get so drunk that I tell these guys that we're undercover and blow our entire cover, maybe cost us our lives? And I was so nervous about that. That's how naive I was. Like, that doesn't happen from a couple beers. That I said, I want to know what it feels like to be drunk. So when I got home from that op, I went to the liquor store and bought one of everything, like wine, rum, beer, you name it, right? Whiskey, tequila. I bought one of everything. I said, I'm just going to drink and try all these different drinks. I've never tried any of them. See which one I like the most. And at the same time, I want to get drunk by myself so that I know the feeling of being drunk and I know how I act. So I start just freaking throwing drinks down. And I'm shooting all of them. And I end up blacking out. This is my first time ever really drinking. This is my second time drinking, but first time getting drunk. And I wake up the next morning with the hangover from hell, like a sledgehammer hitting my head. And I don't know how close I was to killing myself that night on accident. Can you imagine, though, if somebody would have found me dead the next morning? Because you can absolutely get alcohol. But I don't know how many drinks I had. What happened is like I didn't feel like it was working at first. And so I went pretty heavy after that. Next thing I knew, I was gonzo beans. But I mean, that's how scary that is, right? They would have thought I was this closet drunk that was so depressed. My whole story would have been wrong. And it turns out it was an experiment to see what it felt like to be drunk. This is how stupid I can be. So anyways, but over the next several years, I mean, to be honest, I've had a lot of beautiful conversations while drinking with friends. I love to go have whiskey with my buddies and sit on their porch, right? I love to have shots of tequila down at our bar in Las Vegas, Mas Por Favor. If you guys haven't been there yet, it's an amazing restaurant bar down there that we've had open for the last 3 years. It's just fun to go to the beach and have a freaking pina colada, in Cabo, or a strawberry daiquiri, these different things. And for years, I kind of just tried alcohol, and I never really had any bad experiences. I had one relationship where, looking back, alcohol probably didn't help us. It was a relationship that we fought a lot, and truth is I didn't see it as a problem. But looking back, we absolutely were not our best when we were drinking, and we drank more than we should have. And so it absolutely played into it. I did 75 hard about 2 years ago. I did 75 hard, went 75 days with no alcohol, and it was very easy for me to do. I think because I didn't start drinking till I was older, I don't have these emotional attachments to alcohol. I never drank to drown my sorrows. I never drank to try to escape. For me, it was always a celebration. I even had a rule. I told my buddy Ben this, when he started drinking. I said, hey, here's a good rule that I've lived by that helps keep me out of trouble with alcohol. I only drink in celebration. And he's like, wow, it's a great rule, right? Well, it turns out I celebrate a lot. And it was funny. It wasn't until I did 75 hard, I was like, holy shit, I think I've been drinking 4 to 5 times a week. I mean, you go on 2 dates a week, usually have a cocktail or some wine. Go golfing or boating with my buddies one day. There's another one, right? Go to a party one night a week. That's kind of what I was doing minimum. Some nights, some weeks 2, 3 parties, or 3, 4 dates some weeks. And so you end up catching yourself drinking 4, 5, 6 times a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm drinking a lot of alcohol. And I was always a little bit out of shape too. And it's very difficult. I won't go into the whole health reasons here, but when you're drinking, your body metabolizes much different. It's trying to do different things to get rid of the alcohol. And so instead of being able to repair itself and the cells and all that thing, you're basically poisoning yourself with alcohol. And I did a podcast a couple months ago. You guys can go back and listen to it. There's this guy, and his whole thing is alcohol-free lifestyle. That's his website. That's his Instagram. I had him on the podcast to talk about some of the dangers of alcohol, and I just kind of made a decision. I'd been wanting to get my weight. I came into the new year at 215. We went to Brazil and Argentina, and we had drinks with everything, and I didn't even realize it at the time, but I look back at pictures now, and I didn't look very healthy. And I had this come to Jesus a couple months ago where I said, dude, you coach men on how to be healthy in all areas of life, and you're not in the best shape that you can be in. So I decided I was going to go. I was at 215 at the new year. I got down to 200 pounds. I decided I'm going to 185 is where I should be at. I've gotten down where today I'm at 191. Got a few pounds to go, working on it, and very happy with my progress. But my decision came a couple months ago, about 2 months ago, almost exactly now, at the beginning of June. I said, I'm going to go alcohol-free. Like, I'm going to go no alcohol. And I decided this 2 days before we went to Cancun at an all-inclusive resort. And you guys have been to Mexico or Cancun, the all-inclusive resorts. The fun part is just going to the beach, going to the pool, just keep ordering drinks. Basically drunk for 3 days straight. That's why people go do it. And I made the decision before I went, because I knew if I waited till I got back that I wasn't really committed. But I wanted to commit to this new lifestyle. So I'm about 2 months with no alcohol now, and I've got to say, like, I cannot believe the difference in what I feel. I did not understand how badly it was affecting me, and it's why I'm adamantly talking about it now. You can say I'm a hypocrite because up till 2 months, I still have my tequila collection at my house, but my original rule, I thought this was a really, if you think you have an alcohol problem and it has to do with weight or health or whatever, this is the rule I originally put, and a lot of people have told me this is brilliant, so I'll share it with you guys. I had a goal to get to 185. I said I'm no alcohol till I hit 185. But I want to live between 185 and 190 on my weight. So if at any point I go over 190, I have to quit drinking again till I get back to the 185. That way I always stay between 185 and 190 and don't let it get away from me. That being said, that was my original plan with what I was going to do. But I felt so good since I've been off alcohol that I don't know if I'll ever drink again. I really don't. I don't want to put this, this hard rule in place. I had that with religion forever, and I don't like the feeling of that. So I'm very open to the idea. I went a couple of years ago, we went and toured the Jose Cuervo Museum with the founders and owners of Jose Cuervo and their children. And, I tested some tequilas. I would do that again if, that experience presented itself tomorrow. My point is, is it will be a very rare occasion in which I have alcohol going forward because of the way I feel. I've been sleeping better. I've been waking up before my alarm clock goes off. My weight is down. My bloating is down. My gut issues I've been having have gone away. And honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with the alcohol. So for me, take out, DUIs. I never drink and drive. I bought all my friends breathalyzers for Christmas one year. Like, that was just a non-negotiable, especially in the day of Ubers. Like, you should just never drink and drive. Take out the fact that people can rage and do bad things or make poor decisions with sex and things like that. In the days when I was partying, if I'm being honest, like several nights, everybody's drinking and you end up going home with somebody. And I wonder how many of those nights I would have done that had I been completely sober. And maybe I would have figured out earlier that this probably wasn't in my highest and best use to just be partying like that. And so I don't regret any of it. Honestly, I don't look down at all on anybody that does it. It's really fun. There's a reason why alcohol has the reputation it does in a lot of ways. I've had a lot of good times. But I will say that for me, it actually makes me more tired. And so I have more fun when I'm not drinking. So my new thing right now, that's where I'm at. But if you're serious about taking your life to the next level, I think it has to start there. You have to be willing to give up something like alcohol. As fun as it can be, as connecting as it can be, if you're serious about your health, mental, emotional, physical health, it just can't be a part of what you're doing. Drugs is a non-starter. I mean, there's people right now that use cocaine around town, or people that are hooked on heavier stuff like pain meds and opioids and things like that. Like, they're just a mess. I personally, I'm an advocate of plant medicine. I talk about this all the time. However, my opinions of this has changed as well. I've seen it misused too many times, and the only time I think people should be taking MDMA or mushroom psilocybin or ayahuasca is with a facilitator that's very professional and that you have a full intention. Like, I have people that start with good intentions, right? They only do it with a facilitator, and the next thing you know, they're at a concert taking MDMA, or they're at a football game taking MDMA. And it's like, you've kind of ruined the sacredness of this medicine. You're kind of shitting in the face of the God that created this for therapy use. And so for me, I don't really host events anymore where we do therapeutically psilocybin and MDMA. I've been able to have some of the best nights of my life doing that. But for me, I go to places that have the right facilitator, that have the right shamans and people like that, to make sure it's done in a sacred setting. I just think it's being misused a lot. And by the way, people, if you're using this more than once every probably 2 months, I think you're using it too much. That being said, it is a cheat code to life to figure out your issues, to help you in every way, shape, and form if you use it the right way. So it's complicated. It definitely is one of the more complicated things out there. There's no black and white on it, but that's my personal opinion that comes from years of my own experimenting, of my own experience. But as far as like cocaine comes, I talked about this recently on a podcast as well. So much stuff these days is laced with fentanyl. There's high risk of death and things like that. Even if it's not, if you mix cocaine, you're just having a heart issue that day or whatever it might be, mixed with alcohol, you can die. This happens every day. And the reason I don't use cocaine and hard drugs is my whole life I've tried to stand for something. I've tried to be something. I've tried to be an example to other people. If I died on a drug overdose from one of these things, my entire story would be about a drug overdose. It'd be the first line of my obituary. And all the good I ever tried to do would be erased. It would be secondary to that. And so because of that, and because, one of my idols, Chris Farley, died of a drug overdose, it's always been a hard no for me. That one just is a road I don't want to go down. So that's number 15. They won't all be that long. Number 14 is you've got to write out a gratitude list every single day. The fastest way to go from a depressed state to a happier state is to get into gratitude, because gratitude cannot coexist at the same time as a negative emotion. I'm going to say that again. Gratitude cannot coexist at the same time as a negative emotion. So if you feel yourself being depressed or down or sad or angry or any of those things, you got to get into gratitude. If you look for what's right or wrong in this world, you'll probably find it. And so our brains, I'm going to kind of give some science here. It's quite fascinating to me. I learned this from Tony Robbins. But our brains are hardwired from millions of years ago to be able to look for what's wrong, right? It's always scanning for what's wrong. It's why the news is so attractive. That's why people get sucked into negativity so easy. Because the brain naturally is looking for what's wrong so that it can see where there's a problem, so that it can see where there's a danger. And so your brain is scanning, looking for problems all day long, and it finds them left and right. Well, the way that we hijack our brain, because we don't need to be able to know where all the dangers are nowadays. We don't need all these warnings. We live in a different world today. It's safe, for the most part, to live in 2023. And so you want to hijack your brain, instead of looking for what's wrong, to start looking for what's right. What you focus on, you'll feel. What you focus on, you'll find, right? So if you start each day with gratitude, I recently did a podcast with Melissa Von Mosser. She's my relationship life coach for 8 years. And she went through a miserable divorce, a horrible, horrible, horrible divorce. And she said that when she was at her lowest, the only thing she could do, she wanted to practice these things she'd been teaching for all these years. And she said she had to get out of bed in the morning, she had to get into a state of gratitude. So she'd hold up her 10 fingers, and then she'd think of one thing and put down a finger for each one of them. And by the time she got to 10, she was ready to get out of bed. And so I encourage you, I've heard other ways to do this. Gratitude journals are awesome. At We're the They, we have a gratitude journal. You can go to our website. You can order one of those. We have those available to people. Or, it's as simple as put 10 small rocks in one of your pockets. And every single day throughout the day, think of something you're grateful for. And every time you do it, move the rock from your left pocket to your right pocket. And at the end of the day, all 10 rocks or coins or whatever you want to use will be in the other pocket. You know that you've been grateful 10 different times throughout the day. I think it's one of the most powerful exercises that you can do. If you want to get into a even more beautiful state of gratitude, there's a cheat code that I learned. You want to put on some music, and you want to think of 3 different memories. And you can do it for 30 seconds each, a minute each, 5 minutes each. But this is a beautiful way to get into gratitude. And the first memory you want to think of is just a moment of your life that made you super happy, like a moment of your life that you just loved, right? So it's just an incredible moment of your life. And you think on that one. Then when you're done with that one, you're going to think of a place that you love, just your happy spot, it might be a certain beach, it might be a certain mountain, just your happy place. And then the third one that you're going to think of is a person that you love. And you're just going to focus on those 3 things. And if you do that, it will put you into a state of gratitude. That is the fastest mood changer of anything that I've ever learned. So that's number 14. Number 13 is one that's become very popular recently. It's funny, when I was in junior high, Green Day came out, and they were so popular. Everybody liked Green Day, and it bugged me that they were so popular. I don't know why. I'm weird like this sometimes. And so I said, I'm going to be contrarian. I'm not going to like them, right? Is like just me being stupid. But there was a reason everyone liked Green Day. They were really good. Their songs were incredible. And this is kind of what's going on right now with the cold plunge. Okay, cold showers, cold plunge. A lot of people are foo-fooing them. A lot of people are saying that they're stupid. A lot of people are making fun of people because it's kind of a fun thing to post, if we're being real. I went up to the mountains on Sunday. A friend invited me up, and we went to her favorite spot in the river, and we cold plunged in this river. And it was cold. It was probably 40-degree water coming off the mountain. And sat in there for like 4 minutes, and I felt awesome. I felt alive. I bought one of the cold plunges. It sits outside my back door because I wanted to take away all of the work to do the cold plunge. And I was committed enough to this to I would see how this goes. And I've got to tell you, there is a significant difference in my day between the days that I cold plunge and the days that I don't. And you might, you can research the science and all that. I believe in all that. I believe after 3 minutes, there's these benefits and these different things. I believe it can help with weight loss. But if nothing else, we live in a society in 2023 that is so damn comfortable that if you can do something that just makes you uncomfortable on that level, your body is screaming at you to get out when you're in the cold plunge, right? Screaming at you to get out. And if you can just stay in there and be that uncomfortable, that alone has so much value to it. To force yourself when it comes to self-discipline. And it's made it easier for me to avoid eating bad foods. It's made it easier for me to wake up in the morning. It's made it easier for me to get to the gym because I'm training myself to do things I don't want to do. And again, we live in a society in 2023 that if I wake up and I decide I want a warm omelet and French toast from my favorite restaurant, some college kid will have it delivered to my door in 35 minutes. Are you kidding me? We live in a society that is so comfortable these days that we have to purposely do things to make ourselves uncomfortable. It's my entire coaching program. It's why I make us skydive and jump off cliffs and swim with sharks and ride bulls and do all these different things, because I'm trying to help exercise the muscle of feeling the fear or the uncomfortability and pushing through that thing. So if you have something as simple as a 3-minute cold plunge or cold shower that you can do every single day that makes you that uncomfortable, it's an absolute cheat code to help you overcoming other things in your life. So number 12, this is a basic one that everybody kind of knows, but one that we forget a lot, is to drink a gallon of water every single day. Most people just don't even drink nearly enough water. And one of my favorite things about 75 Hard is, again, it just forces you to drink a gallon of water every single day. And when you're drinking that much water, you're not drinking that much soda. You're not drinking that many energy drinks. You're not, drinking that much juice or whatever your vice is. It also fills you up a little bit. Now, you'll be peeing all day. That's one of the problems with drinking a lot of water. And everybody that knows me knows how often I go pee, but at least I'm hydrated. And when you start to think of how much of your body is made of water, if you have a headache, you probably have a water issue. If you don't feel good, you probably have a water issue. Anytime you fly, you should drink twice as much water as you did on a normal day, like all these different things, and it works. There's a reason why. And so water is just one of those things I can't emphasize enough. And I personally, my buddy Ryan Bowen owned his own water company. It filters the water. I bought one of the machines. I pay over $100 a month to have this machine in my house. The entire reason is not because the water is that much better. I mean, it is, but the whole reason I wanted to have that machine in my house is because it reminds me every single day to drink more water. Okay. The next one, number 11, is to have a balanced, healthy diet. And the best way I can say this is, if your diet has a name, it's probably not a good diet. I heard that the other day. I just thought that was brilliant. Really what it is it's how many calories do you want to be taking in, and what are the macros? And you don't have to complicate this. There's 2 things you need to know. What is the max amount of calories you want to take in a day, and how many grams of protein do you want to hit every single day? For me right now, I'm in the shred mode. I have 1,850 calories a day that I can eat, and I have to hit 170 grams of protein. Well, I can't eat a bunch of bullshit. I can't have sandwiches and French toast for breakfast or cereal if I'm to hit that goal, because if I do, my carbs will be too high and my protein's gonna not hit its mark. And so, I've created a diet that works really well for me that includes muscle egg in the morning, some oatmeal, some fruit. You want these. I used to be against fruit, but because it has a lot of sugar, but at the end of the day, it has a lot of fiber, and it has a lot of, it'll fill you up very quickly for how few calories it is. So I've been eating a lot of apples, watermelons. I love grapefruit, grapes, blackberries, blueberries. These are some of the things I've been incorporating a lot into my diet, especially earlier in the day. And then for lunch I have a steak, and for dinner I have a halibut. Usually throw in some vegetables, and it's a very healthy diet. And so if you can keep below that 1,850 calories, or maybe for some people it's 2,000, obviously it's going to depend on your body size and what you're trying to do. But you want to hit the goal that you set for yourself. So the key is to count the calories and count the protein. And there's a fitness app called MyFitnessApp that is incredible, that you just type in, every single food is in there. You can even scan the code from whatever you eat, and so that you know exactly where you're at. And before I started tracking it, I would have said I thought I was around 2,000 calories a day. I was closer to 3,000. That's why I was, weighed more than I wanted to. And it wasn't until I started looking at it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I guess I'm not having a Snickers tonight. I guess I'm not going to have a glass of milk or whatever, because it doesn't fit for what I'm trying to do with my calorie count and my macros. So having a balanced, healthy diet. Number 10 is to be able to envision your future, and I say have a vision board. A lot of people think this is kooky. I personally think it's one of the most important things you can do, because if you don't build your life by design, then it will be built for you. So I have a vision board. It's in my meditation room. I look at it almost every single morning. And what it does is your mind starts to see those things as real, as happening, as in real time. And so you don't, it brings things that feel distant close. Most people are probably closer to their goals than they think. And having a vision board really brings them into reality, I feel like. So huge fan of the vision board. I have 50 different examples I could give you of things I put on my vision board that I brought to pass. True story. Number 9 is meditating for 20 minutes. One of the problems for me has always been settling down, slowing down, doing less. One of my life coaches told me recently, she said, I think the only client I've ever had that I just don't ever have to motivate. But the flip side of that is I can have a really hard time slowing down and being present and being in the moment and all those things. And so I've worked hard the last year to do that. It actually took me over 2 years of trying to meditate. I bought the little thing that goes on your head. I bought all the different apps. I tried all the different things. None of them really worked for me. I finally found a YouTube that works really well for me. And it's a 20-minute video, and the first 10 minutes is guided to get you to relax, and then the last 10 minutes, 12 minutes is you just with the music. And I can do it almost every single day. Yesterday I was kind of feeling frantic in my morning. It was kind of a crazy morning. I had this really important coaching call at 11 with my group, and so I hurried and got to my studio by 10:30, and I sat in my car. I put on this 20-minute meditation, and it just completely changed my energy, put me at ease, put me at peace, so that I could give a great presentation. A lot of people said it was one of the best ones they've ever had. And so meditating has become a daily ritual for me that I pretty much do not miss. But it really helps you to get grounded, to be present, all the above. Number 8 is you've got to get outside and walk first thing in the morning. For years, again, I had a problem waking up at a good time or on a routine. I wasn't sleeping until 9 or 10, but I was sleeping until 8 a lot of days. And really the goal for me was 7. I want to get up at 7. I didn't want to get up much earlier than that. Some days now I do. I think, again, since I quit drinking, it's been a lot easier. But 7 o'clock a.m. is a good time for me to, I'm usually up late working on stuff. If I get to bed by 11, I get 8 hours of sleep. We'll get into that one later. But for me, what I did is I tried to figure out a hack. Find an accountability partner. Find somebody that gets you up in the morning. And so what I did is I set coaching client calls with my guys that I coach, and if they live in Utah, they can come meet me in person. They meet me at my door at 7 a.m. So every day somebody can set an appointment out of the 200 guys that I'm coaching in my leadership group, and they can meet me at my door. We go for a walk. We do about a 45-minute walk. And so what it does is first thing in the morning, you're getting out into nature, you're getting walking, you're talking to a friend, you're experiencing love, all these different things. It's such a beautiful way to start the morning. This is probably my number one thing that's changed my life the most, is the 7 a.m. walk every single day. Every single day. And for me, one of the things that made this easier, because it was really hard for me to get into the routine, I bought a dog that I had to take for walks and forced me to take this guy for a walk every day twice. And that really helped me to find the time, to make the time in my schedule to do it. Long story on the dog, he kind of ended up getting stolen from me, but at the end of the day, that dog for 8 months really served its purpose to help me, and forever grateful for my little guy. So going for a walk first thing in the morning, getting outside, going for a walk. Number 7 is you want to make and review your goals regularly. I already talked about this a little bit earlier in the podcast, how to do that, so I won't go into this anymore, but just making sure you do it. I don't miss on a Sunday. I always review my week for 30 minutes. I always review my goals every day. I keep it on my daily planner. If everybody that knows me knows, I have this little daily planner right here in front of me. I've got my goals on here every single day so that I can keep it in front of me. I review it. It also has them right here. My big goals for 2023 right here in front of me, so I can look at that every single day. And it's just important to review it all the time. Number 6 is you got to read 30 minutes per day. I don't think anything will change your life faster than the people you hang out with, the places and experiences you go have, and the books that you read. It's what goes in your mind. It's life is a funnel. And if I pour good things into my mind, good things come out. If I pour bullshit in there, reality shows and sports and just things that are time wasters, video games, then nothing good is going to come out. If you're not reading at least 30 books a year, like sitting down and reading 30 books a year, you're probably getting left behind by somebody that is. So that's my recommendation. If you want to hit me up on my Instagram, Mr. Jimmy Rex, send me a message. I'll give you my top 5 most important books I ever read, and you can get that list from me. Also, if you want to hit me up on there, Mr. Jimmy Rex on Instagram, I can send you the link to the meditation video on YouTube that I used, the one that finally worked after 2 years of not being able to figure that out. Number 5 is to wake up on time. I didn't say 5 a.m. I didn't say 6 a.m. Again, the best schedule is the one you'll actually keep. So for me, that's 7 a.m. But I'm able to get up, I get quality sleep, I get up at a certain time, but getting up when the alarm goes off. You don't want to start negotiating or hitting the snooze or those different things, because again, it's all about keeping promises to ourselves. If you went to bed and said, I'm going to be up at 7 a.m., well, when 7 a.m. hits and you get up, then you build self-confidence because you know you do what you say you're going to do. But if you hit the snooze and go back to bed till 8, then you've started your day off already with a loss, and it's a really hard way to catch up. So number 4 is to lift weights 4 or 5 times every single week. The science is out there. You've got to, especially men, you've got to have strong masculine core. You've got to have a strong body. Lifting weights is even more important than running and doing those other things. Look up the science. It is for longevity, for health, for your appearance, for strength, for confidence. Just the way you walk, the way you hold yourself, all those things are improved if you're lifting weights 4 or 5 times a week. My recommendation, what I do is I get a trainer for 2 or 3 of those days a week, and then I do it on my own 2 or 3 days a week. We also have an app with We Are The They where we show you all these different workouts that you can do. So if you are looking for maybe to take your fitness to another level, consider joining our tribe of We Are The They, and you get that app for free as part of it. So number 3 is to get 7 or 8 hours of quality sleep at night. Everybody knows the benefits of sleep, but it's one of those things that we forget about. If you're really off, or you feel like you're depressed, or you're anxious, or any of those things, the first thing I would check is your sleep. The only other thing I'll say on sleep is do everything in your power to not sleep with your phone, to not sleep with it by you, to not fall asleep to it. The quicker you get rid of your phone in a night before you go to bed, you're probably better off. One thing that I say to my married clients or people that are in a relationship is your bedroom should be sacred. Do not keep your phone in there. Just don't do it. And get the sleep you need, get the sex you need, but don't be in your room on your phones. Like, there's nothing sadder to me than 2 couples laying in bed together on their phones. Number 2 is spend quality time with your loved ones and friends. Gary Keller, who wrote The One Thing, talked about this. He said, by 11 a.m. every day, if you can get a hug in there with somebody you love or kiss somebody you love, your day is just going to be that much better. You've got to spend time with people that you love, that you want to be with, whether that's a spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, or if that's just a friend, if that's a roommate, if that's a family member, if that's one of your children. But start the day off somehow getting around people that you love and spending some time with them. And then the number 1 thing I think is the most important habit that you can have is to start each day with a prayer of gratitude and a prayer of guidance, right? Like, talk to God. Like, one of my prayers that I start every day with is that, God, please lead me to the people that need me today. It's probably the most beautiful prayer that I have, because when things happen or I get an impression to go do something or to talk to somebody or to help somebody, I feel guided by God because it's the prayer I left that morning with. So every single day I leave with the same prayer to God to guide me to the people that need me. But let God be a part of the process for you. These are my top 15 habits in order. I would love your feedback. I'd love to hear what I missed. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Maybe you think I'm full of shit. Maybe you absolutely agree with most of these, but there's 1 or 2 you have a problem with. If there's something super important I missed, I'd love to hear it. But thank you for listening to another conversation of Real Men, Real Conversations. If you like this podcast, please share it. We have our own Facebook page now, Real Men, Real Conversations. Please go become a member. And also, if you've not taken the time to review the Jimmy Rex Show, please like and subscribe, as we obviously want to grow this page to as many people, as many men and women that want to listen and to hear more Real Men, Real Conversations. Thanks for listening. See you next time. How long was that total?
Like 55 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a good one.